Welcome back to Mom Bombs, the podcast that takes an honest look at the joys and challenges of motherhood. I'm your host, Megan Short. So, I just want to be really honest and blunt before we start this next episode, because that's what this podcast is about, right? Is being blunt and honest with no filters, just a real and raw podcast. So, my frustration level right now is really fucking high. Like I'm at like a 20 because I have probably tried to record this episode like 27 times and I'm still dealing with whatever this health issue is. So I'm supposed to see the doctor next week and do a breathing test or whatever. But so it's partly because of that, because, I don't want to keep coughing or clearing my throat in your guys' ear, and I feel bad about that, but if I waited until I was better, I don't even know when I would be able to record another episode. So I'm worried about how I sound, and it's just really frustrating, and it's just pissing me off. So I really appreciate you guys dealing with it and bearing with me and being understanding. And to be honest, I'm probably going to start losing my voice because every time I have to re-record this, either because I'm coughing or there's, noise in the background or my Alexa goes off or whatever, I've been cussing up a storm because it's really just pissed me off. So I'm so frustrated right now. And I wasn't even going to bring that up, and I was just going to re-record it again. But I'm like, you know what? This is supposed to be just real shit, and eventually, it's going to come up talking about my anxiety or adulting, throughout the podcast, because some of that has to do with, parenthood, and so I didn't want to really hide it, and I was like, you know what, I'll just share it in the podcast because I'm really fucking frustrated, and my anxiety level is really high, and I think some of that is also because I'm worried about if my episodes are boring or if I sound stupid or I don't know, just a lot of different things. But I actually just got 13 minutes in to recording it when my stupid Alexa went off and I lost my shit for a minute. I dropped way too many F-bombs. So I'm really hoping that I can get through this next one again without interruptions or losing my shit or kids arguing in the background or whatever, the case may be. So let's try this again. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about my middle child, Elizabeth. Liz will be celebrating the big Sweet 16 later this year. Congrats. Getting older, which makes me sadder, but that's life, right? And they're finishing up sophomore year of high school tomorrow. I don't know about you guys, but it seems like in today's age that making it this far in school with all of the bullying and the challenges and the school shootings and the threats and all of that, it's a big deal to make it this far because there are a lot of kids that don't for many different reasons, which is really sad, but that's the fucked up world we live in. It sucks and it's depressing. But my Liz is a badass kid who takes no shit from anyone. And that's how I raised my kids, was to just not put up with people's shit because you don't have time for that. Don't put up with people that just shouldn't be in your life and just cause you nothing but drama and stress. But that doesn't mean that Liz is a mean person, because they're actually very kind-hearted, smart, beautiful, strong, funny, stubborn, and very sarcastic like me. But they are a little short-tempered like their dad. This kid, I love very, very much. But this kid will tell you like it is with no regrets and no filter. But They're so loyal. They will have your back in a heartbeat if you deserve it. And if you don't, well, then I guess that sucks for you. But similar to Karina, Liz has had some health issues. They have had asthma since they were a kid, but thankfully it's kind of dormant because we moved to Arizona for a couple of years and the humidity is different. So now that we're back in Michigan, we will see what happens, but hopefully we don't see that come around again. And they do also wear glasses, just like the other two kids, but that's when they are able to find them. We got them new glasses a few months ago, and they've been missing for a little bit. Not really sure where they are, but hopefully they turn up. Welcome to motherhood. So, growing up as the middle child is something I don't really have personal experience with. I wasn't the middle child in our household growing up, but, I'm sure it hasn't always been fun or easy for Liz. I don't think it's fun for any middle child really, because all you hear is that like the oldest is kind of like the third parent and the youngest is like the spoiled one. And, the middle child is kind of stuck between the two. And, sometimes they might feel like they're invisible, but, I really hope I've never made Liz feel that way. And I think I've told them that. And if I haven't, I'm definitely going to, because communication, is important. And, that's something that, Liz and I are working on. And I do want to say before I say this next sentence that I got permission from Liz to kind of talk about certain things, but also, not get too in depth because I want to respect her privacy. But Liz and I are both in therapy, so it's kind of improved our communication a little bit. We do see the same therapist, and she is super nice, and I think it helps that we see the same one. To be honest, I kind of hijacked Elizabeth's therapist because I was supposed to be doing their intake, and I kept having to reschedule because I was dealing with my mom and her dementia. And so, she was like, well, how does that make you feel? And then I kind of just started rambling, and next thing I know, I'm signing up for therapy sessions. But, I just finally reached my breaking point where I couldn't really just deal anymore. And I'll get into that a little bit more in depth in another episode. I want to make sure to keep this one about Liz, but I've definitely appreciated that it's made us closer, and it is still a lot of work. We have a lot of work ahead of us. But I'm very grateful that we've been able to kind of build our communication, and I've learned a lot about myself with just talking to Liz and things like that. And some of it's good stuff, but I've also kind of realized about myself that I guess I was kind of emotionally unavailable when they were growing up. To me, I was always a very present mom, but I guess I was there physically, but not so much, emotionally, which makes me really sad to know that, because I can't go back and fix it. All I can do is try to do better, but it's still just, makes me really sad to realize that I wasn't there like they needed. And I wish that we would have, talked about it sooner and kind of been more open, but it's hard to hear those things, I guess, because you already feel like you're, constantly evaluating how you are as a parent. So it just, I don't know, it just kind of hits you hard, I guess. But, it's not always bad things. Liz is still such a good kid. We really have come a long way, and I've definitely seen the changes we've made, not just in therapy, but Liz has changed since becoming a teenager, which all kids do. You know, they kind of hit that age and sort of mold into their own person, and, you know, their personalities really start to like come through, and they're being shaped in who they're going to be. And, you know, Liz has always been like, you know, the outgoing one and the one that wants to be outside and try new things and, you know, make up their dances. And they've always had like the funniest weird faces that they make in pictures, which, you know, they were always a really silly kid. But, you know, since hitting like the teenage years, they've kind of calmed down a little bit. They've really become like a more private person and really just like to keep to themselves in their room, you know, either watching YouTube or like crime podcasts or hanging out with their friends or cuddling with the cat or the bunny rabbit that we have. And when they're not here, they're over at their friend's house. But, you know, they're very, you know, they're very laid back now and not so much outgoing, but to be honest, I think it's just, you know, it's safer. Like, that's their safe space. So I don't totally mind, but I do miss seeing them around, you know, the house a little bit more. Especially like, I'm just getting emotional thinking about it, especially thinking like there's only a couple years left before they turn 18, and I just had my oldest turn 18, and they're going to be going off to college, so time just goes so fast. And like, you know, my youngest, who I will introduce you to in the next episode, she's going to be a teenager next year, and it just really puts things in perspective, like having, you know, Karina turn 18 and moving out soon. It just really makes everything real, like, wow, you know, time is not slowing down. Like, you see all your Facebook memories pop up of, you know, their cute little pictures and things, and I don't know, just, it really makes you think about things and puts things in perspective, at least for me. So I'm going to try and enjoy, you know, the next couple years that, you know, Liz and I have together, you know, before they turn 18 and move out. So I do want to, you know, kind of mention, like, so Liz is like super good with kids, right? Like, Liz is kind of like the baby whisperer, so to speak. And I'm not sure if Karina's ever going to have kids, you know, when she gets older, and I'm not sure if Chloe's going to, but I think that, you know, all of them would be really good moms or whatever, but Liz does so good with kids. I mean, except for like their siblings, you know, that's a little different, but she definitely, I mean, like, they argue a lot, but if someone like messes with one of them, oh, Liz is like on it like crazy. Like, they're gonna take you down if you mess with their sisters. So, you know, they're definitely a really good kid, and they've had to deal with a lot of shit in school especially, but I can't really get into that right now until we're like, we kind of have some, you know, legal battles that we have to deal with, but I promise I will kind of touch base on that when we're allowed to. So, schools suck. That's basically what I'm gonna leave that at. Is I really hate the schools they go to, but that's what it is. Excuse me. Liz is they look literally just like my sister. Like, Karina looks like me, and Chloe kind of looks like a mixture of me and my husband. But Liz definitely looks like my sister, which is super crazy. Sorry, I really had to sneeze. I was trying to hold it in. Sorry. We're being real, right? Real and raw, and that's what the podcast is. So, Anyways, but so Liz is like a really good sibling. You know, they're always good with kids. They're also really, really good with pets. Like, we have Luna, who is our bunny rabbit. And I think that Luna has really, like, made Liz kind of more responsible because, you know, they have to feed Luna and change their bedding and, like, feed them and, you know, clean their cage out and stuff like that. And I think it really helps. I think it does. Like, having responsibility when you're a teenager, it, like, I don't know, it really builds character, at least in my opinion. But, you know, it's also a big responsibility having a pet. And it's definitely different, you know, taking care of a kid, that's for sure. But I did tell my kids, you better not make me grandma until I'm like 50 or, you know, 45 maybe. I kind of had my kids young, so I can't really be too picky and can't really judge, but, you know, it's what it is, I guess. Anyways, so back to Liz. Liz and Karina kind of butt heads a lot. You know, I think that's because they're closer in age, but like Karina's the older one, you know, and then Chloe's kind of the baby. But Liz and Chloe do hang out from time to time playing Roblox, which is really cool. You know, they definitely have their arguments for sure, but I think with having basically 3 teenagers, that's definitely bound to happen for sure. Sorry, I had the sneezies. My bad. So anyways, I definitely want to touch base again on, you know, the legal matters that, you know, me and Liz have had to deal with, because it's definitely a big part of their story. But, you know, I can't really get into depth about what the issues are. I can say that, like, bullying is a big deal in school, and schools don't do shit about it. And so as parents, we have to really take control of that situation. So I'm going to be excited for when I can share with you what's going on. I don't know how far out that will be because we're still, like, you know, in the early stages of things. But I definitely want to keep you guys updated as much as I can. I just have to be, you know, considerate of what I say, at least for now. Sorry, another sneeze. But hey, look, I made it through the podcast, mostly without losing my shit or mostly without coughing. Couple of sneezes in there. Totally okay. So I want to let you know that the next episode, you will be meeting Chloe, who is the younger sister, and she is going to be 13 in August. So it's been a while since I've had little tiny kids around. She's my youngest, but I will get more into details about her as we get closer, and you will hear a whole episode about her and her interests. She is a little bit more private, so, you know, I'm not sure how much of that episode I can talk, like, in depth, but I will definitely try and, you know, I try to be respectful of the things that I share and just, you know, just being respectful as a parent. So anyways, I do want to say thank you again for just, you know, bearing with me and dealing with the raw information and just the realness of the podcast. And like I said, I wasn't sure if I wanted to share the podcast and the struggles of recording it, and I was just going to record it again and again until it was perfect. But I just really wanted to share the experience with the anxiety that went with recording the episode, because I didn't really have that problem with the other ones. You know, for some reason, those just kind of came a little bit easier. And I don't know if it's just because I've had like a really long few days with graduation and things like that, but it just really, I don't know, I was just really at my limit of anxiety today for some reason. And if I hide that and don't share it with you guys, then I feel like I'm just not being honest, you know what I'm saying? So, thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Mom Bombs. Be sure to follow to stay up to date on new episodes, and we'll see you next time. Follow me on Instagram at mom_bombs_podcast. Thank you, and we will see you next time.